will be wiping everything down, the tables, the chairs, the menus.
It is day one of phase one in Oregon, from restaurants to gyms, schools, churches, and casinos. What will our new normal look like?
We have team coverage of this, a special edition of KEZI 9 News after the outbreak, including live interviews with the experts as we make the transition.
So definitely the shopping as an activity just for recreation is all but gone away.
What can you expect? KEZI 9 News after the outbreak starts now.
Live, local, late breaking. This is a special presentation of KEZI 9 News. Coronavirus after the outbreak.
Oregon's governor is reminding us that coronavirus is still very dangerous and poses a great risk as we enter phase one of reopening. And she's asking us to come together and be smart. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Renee McCullough.
And I'm Matt Templeman. Tonight we are working to pinpoint what things could look like when it's all over. But first, a look at where Oregon stands right now.
In Oregon today, there are 3,470 confirmed cases, and though the case count increased by 63, the number of people in the hospital has dropped 5 from yesterday, down to 54. The state reports no new deaths today, leaving the death toll at 137. Almost 86,000 tests have come back negative for the entire state of Oregon.
All right, I want to get to our local viewing area again. Saw just 3 new cases across the 5 counties today. One of those cases is in Benton County, where the total is now 49. We can also tell you the death toll there remains at 5 people. The other new cases are both in Linn County, and that brings their total to 109. 8 people have died there. Lane County is at 60 cases, where it's been since Tuesday. 2 people have died. Nobody is in the hospital. In Coos County, still reporting 28 cases. Nobody has died there. Almost 1,000 cases have come back negative. Finally, Douglas County still claiming the lowest count of cases with 24. Only 1 new case has been reported in the last 25 days, and 23 of the 24 have recovered.
One of the restaurants that opened today is Trev's Sport Bar near the University of Oregon, and KEZI 9 News reporter Emma Jerome joins us live with reaction from those who are dining in on day 1 tonight. Emma?
Matt, Renee, I've been here at Trev's Sports Bar on the University of Oregon's campus since around 11 this morning, and the flow has been steady, but while it's been steady, it's been manageable. They're doing everything they can to keep the governor's guidelines and orders. If you follow my gaze here, you'll see they have markings on the ground for how far apart each party should be standing, and they have the bar blocked off. Yes, people can order drinks at the bar, but they can't sit at the bar. And if you'll follow me this way, you'll see they actually have every other table blocked off so that parties of 10 or less can be distanced 6 feet or further apart. The steady flow was so steady at one point today that servers tell me they ran out of food at one point. Customers who have been itching to get back to dine in at their favorite restaurants say they feel it's about time, and I'll get done talking about what they said and I'll let you hear from them.
Stoked, very happy, tired of sitting at home, you know, it's kind of claustrophobic. So, you know, come out here, enjoy your family, friends, support your community.
As far as after the outbreak, servers tell me they don't know what things are going to look like from day to day. They say for now they are strictly following the governor's orders, and once the reins loosen a bit, they think they'll be able to serve people how they used to. These guidelines must stay in place for 3 weeks while we are in phase 1, with proper PPE being stocked, with medical supplies staying, hospitals not getting overcrowded, and a decline in COVID-19 cases. After 3 weeks, we will assess, and whether Kate Brown says we can move on to phase 2 will ultimately come down from the governor's office. Reporting live in Eugene, Emma Jerome, KEZI 9 News.
All right, from there, let's move to the shopping center and the malls.
Yes, we continue our team coverage tonight with KEZI 9 News reporter Andrew Hobner, who is live at Oakway Center in Eugene tonight. Andrew?
Yeah, guys, I know a lot of people are wondering when things will return to normal and what that normal is going to look like, as we've already entered phase 1 of Governor Brown's plan to reopen the economy. You can tell it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Our photographer Taylor Cantrell is going to take you in the air with Sky 9 right now. And one thing you're going to notice about the parking lot here at the Oakway Center, this is 6 o'clock at night. This is typically a busy time for this shopping center. And even though we've already started that economic reopening plan, it's still pretty empty here. Of course, a lot of the foot traffic today was around some of the food places. Trader Joe's, of course, has been open this entire time, but a lot of the retailers are not yet open. Nordstrom Rack is not yet open. J. Crew, Pottery Barn is open by appointment only. And for a lot of these businesses, they need to reopen because for places like Eugene Running Company over here in the Oakway Center, the customer experience and the shopping for beginning runners is integral to having them in the store.
With the curbside service, it's very tricky, particularly with beginner runners, and so it's a good thing for the beginner runners that need the full service.
Now, another tricky part that I'm sure everyone is feeling at home right now is this balance about getting the economy back on track while feeling safe. I can tell you right now here at the Oakway Center, many retailers have already put many things in place to make their environments safer. That includes masks for their employees, glass dividers at the point of purchase, and of course, a whole lot of emphasis on social distancing. Of course, this is only day one of what is going to be a week and month-long process to try and get the economy up and running again. So the next few weeks are going to be very instructive for what this is all going to look like. In Eugene, Andrew Hodner, KEZI 9 News.
Well, Lane County is putting the finishing touches on a COVID-19 recovery center specifically for homeless people to use while they wait for test results or while they recover. We got an inside look of what that center looks like today. It's on River Avenue in Eugene, where the old Veterans Administration building used to be. Lane County bought the property for $1.8 million in March and is planning to house up to 100 people there. State Senator James Manning talked about how he plans to help Lane County cover the cost.
This was an expense that Lane County did not plan on, but yet they jumped to the occasion. Under the CARES Act, this is the kind of project that these federal dollars are geared toward. So I'm looking forward to casting my vote in favor of it.
Home Depot, Walmart, and St. Vincent de Paul are providing washers, dryers, microwaves, and books to go inside. Well, entering phase one feels like a big step forward, but the state's top health experts are not ruling out a big step backwards in the future.
Experts call it the second wave, and KEZI 9 News reporter Chris Lewinberg has a look at how severe it could be.
Have we turned the tide in the battle against coronavirus? Experts say this winter's flu season may welcome in a second wave of COVID cases.
Is this a question of if, or is this a question of when?
It's more of a question of when.
OSU's Chunwei Chi says Oregon's reopening guidelines should do the trick, but there needs to be more contact tracing, testing, and isolation.
We have reached a peak, and then we come down to a plateau, but we have been in this plateau for a long time. And if we are not doing adequate job, I'm afraid we will be in this plateau longer.
He says the best thing you can do to prevent a spike is wear a mask in public indoor spaces, which he'd like to see as a state requirement.
While everyday Oregonians can do their part, the Oregon Health Authority said that they built their reopening guidelines with a possible second wave in mind, and an increase in cases is expected.
OHA says it's modeling a 50 to 60% reduction in transmission, down from the 70% during stay-at-home.
We're really hoping to avoid major kind of rolling back and going back to these restrictions. But it's certainly possible, and so we're keeping a close eye on the number of cases that we're seeing day by day.
They say while few Oregonians have contracted the virus, that also means few may be immune. OHA says its preparations are adequate to prevent an unexpected rise in cases.
With testing, isolation, and quarantine, we can really keep a big spike from happening.
While the state's policy is keeping a possible second wave in mind, Chi says it comes down to cooperation.
The general public has a shared responsibility to help our country, our community bring down this pandemic. It's not just the government.
So wear your mask, keep washing your hands, and limit your travel, even if you indulge in a little well-deserved normalcy. Chris Lewinberg, KEZI 9 News.
With the possibility of a second wave, the future of public health strategies comes with no shortage of challenges.
And we're joined tonight live by Lane County's Senior Public Health Officer, Dr. Patrick Ludke. We sure appreciate you being here with us again tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening. Beyond the second wave, is the virus going to be part of our regular lives for the near future?
Yes, I think that's true. Until we get a significant amount of immunity in the population, we're all at risk, and it's going to hang around.
Now, is the city, I guess, is the county already planning how they may be able to get enough vaccines out there for the entire community at one point?
You know, I'd have to say, of all the parts of this response, that is the easiest part. We have done mass vaccination before. I think your viewers will remember as recently as the meningitis outbreak at the University of Oregon back in 2015, 2016. That part for us is pretty easy. The other parts are more difficult.
Should we be wearing masks? It seems like everywhere you go, about half the people have masks on and half don't. As we enter this phase, we all need to social distance as much as possible and keep everybody around us safe. Does that require wearing a mask?
Well, nothing is perfect, and you can't always predict the behavior of others. We would like people to remain safe and mask when they are in positions or situations where they can't absolutely be certain that no one will break that 6-foot radius.
What challenges are you, I guess, preparing for during this phase 1? We spent 7-8 weeks, kind of with the stay-at-home orders. Why 3 weeks for phase 1, and could it, I guess, be extended easily to 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks and beyond?
Well, we certainly have seen some fairly explosive outbreaks in other cities, states, and even other countries, and that's one of the things we're preparing for. Even though the typical incubation period for this virus, meaning the length of time from exposure until somebody gets symptoms, is in the 5 to 7 day range, we could very easily see a significant increase in cases that was a fairly large outbreak, and we're preparing for those types of outbreaks. I suspect some of your viewers have been looking at Marion County, a county about the same population as ours, but we only have 61 cases. They have over 700. So we could see something like that, and we're preparing for that.
How are you feeling about this very first day of going into phase 1? Do you feel pretty comfortable with where we're moving?
Well, I feel that we're prepared for this step. I certainly have some energy. I think, like probably most people in our community, it sure is nice to get out and see others and experience the joy of a beautiful Oregon spring day. But I also have a little bit of hesitance. To many, this is restriction relaxation. To those of us in public health, it's really a time of increased vigilance.
How quickly would you be able to pull back and get back to some of those other restrictions we've seen for so long? How quickly could we see those numbers grow, and what is, I guess, the number that would really begin to scare you and scare other health officials and say, that's it, we got to draw it back?
Well, the most worrisome thing for us is if we see a fair number of new cases that have no epidemiological link. So let's say we had 5 cases in one day. That's a lot of cases for us, but if they were all in one family who happened to be doing home isolation together, that is very different than if we saw 5 cases. One of those cases was in Florence, one was in Oak Ridge, one was in Cottage Grove, one was in Junction City, and one was in the Eugene-Springfield metro area, and they had no links. That would mean there's significant community transmission all at once, and that would be much more worrisome. So we get a little nervous when we share our numbers, and people look at the number as though that's all the information. The fact of the matter is there's a lot of data behind those numbers that also provides significantly important information for us to act on.
So it depends, is what you're saying. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Ludke, for joining us tonight. We're going to talk to you again in our next half hour.
You're most welcome.
Staff at the YMCA of Douglas County are looking forward to reopening on June 1st. The club's been closed since March, and staff say they don't know what the facility will look like yet when they open their doors again, but they say members can expect changes as they adjust to the new guidelines.
Will be much more spread out. There'll be less people involved. There'll be less classes to start with until we get into another phase of reopening.
Even though the club is closed for another 2 weeks, staff are celebrating the reopening by hosting their 10th annual Water Safety Day tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. Drive-through style. They will be handing out more than 200 life jackets to those who want one.
Well, working out at a gym is not going to look the same under phase 1, but one gym owner says they are willing to keep up their precautions for as long as it takes. The owner of Fitness 440 says they're getting ready to install dividers between cardio machines. They're also spacing other equipment 6 feet apart and providing their members with masks and gloves. Plus, they've stopped group classes and they will not let members use the drinking fountain or the showers.
The most time-consuming requirement of all the guidelines listed for gyms is just keeping everything clean, sanitized, and wiped down. That's something that we already do, and so keeping that up long-term is not going to be a difficulty for us.
They'll also ask members to stay home if they're sick and will only allow 25 people inside at a time, and they plan to reopen on Monday. Well, Governor Kate Brown said that live audience sporting events have been canceled or must be significantly modified through at least September, and that leaves a lot of football fans to wonder what Autzen Stadium is going to look like come fall. And
KEZI 9 sports reporter Julian Minnesone is live in the studio with us to explain the different scenarios the University of Oregon is discussing. Julian.
Man, Renee, University of Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullins said he has yet to get clarification on what significantly modified means. Mullins and his team are preparing for every possible scenario, however. We spoke to Mullins as well as Oregon head football coach Mario Cristobal about what the future holds for the college football season.
We have modeled, or in the process of building a model of what would a socially distanced Autzen look like. What would it mean to play games without fans? So we are looking at all those things, both from a financial impact standpoint as well as an execution standpoint.
Whatever's thrown our way, you deal with it and absolutely make zero excuses as to not having enough time or not being able to meet enough together. There will be time. In the meantime, is continue to Zoom away, continue to stay in touch.
And as far as the impact the canceled or shortened season could have on smaller non-revenue sports, Mullins says they're not looking at cutting any sport right now. And we'll hear from Oregon State football later in the show. For now, reporting in the studio, Julian Minnesone, KEZI 9 Sports.
A lot of people itching to get out and enjoy what Oregon has to offer. Coming up next, a live interview from Florence about what's open and what's not.
And if you're ready to do some wine tasting, we'll check in to see what wineries are doing to welcome back visitors. It's all coming up next.
You're watching KEZI 9 News at 6, live, local, late breaking. Welcome back to After the Outbreak, a KEZI 9 News special report.
Our local businesses are preparing to welcome you back to the places we all love, to ensure residents and visitors are safe, to explore our towns and trails.
Well, leaders on the coast are preparing for a surge in visitors this weekend. Before you go, though, a reminder about how important it still is to social distance.
And we are joined now by Bettina Hannigan, the Executive Director of the Florence Area Chamber of Commerce. And Bettina, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get right to it. What's the most important thing you want visitors to know this weekend?
I think it's visitors and locals. It's good old-fashioned personal responsibility. And, we're all a little bit nervous. We're a little scared. We don't know how this is going to pan out. We don't want to get closed back down again. If we have a spike over here, and we don't want to get closed down. So we're just asking everybody to be as responsible as you can. And if you're at risk, stay safe. If you're not at risk, if you're young and you're healthy and you can get over this, then go out and have a good time. But be respectful of the people that are around you and obey the guidelines. Keep the 6 feet distance. Wear your mask when you can. And enjoy our beautiful coast. It's so beautiful, and we're looking forward to having people come back. We just want everybody to be safe.
Right. So many businesses are opening, others are waiting, as it is everywhere. State-run parks, dunes, and beach access, we understand, just opened within the last hour. We also should talk about public restrooms there on the coast as well.
Don't know if the restrooms are open. That's a whole different dynamic. But we did receive something from our local news here today that Honeyman Park is open. And we think that maybe some of the dunes might be open, but we don't know the exact details. It's kind of crazy. I just checked the website yesterday, and they were all closed. So, it was brand new news to us that they're open. I don't know the details. I would recommend that anybody wants to check would check the state websites.
Yeah, Roadie Fest not happening. Wine and Chowder Trail not happening this year. How will the businesses not only survive but thrive in the months ahead?
Summertime is never a challenge for us. We're busy in the summertime, and that's a blessing because we need that right now. We're starting off a couple months behind the gun. We've lost our spring break revenue. We've lost our roadie revenue, but hopefully we can make up for most of that during our summer months. Winter is hard for us. We slow down in October, and our revenue drops. And that makes it hard for businesses to cover their expenses and keep their staff going. So I don't know what we're going to do as far as our events. We've built the Wine and Chowder Trail up to be such an amazing event, and everybody looks forward to it on Columbus Day weekend. So I don't know. We can't have big gatherings like that. We're going to have to get innovative, and we're just going to have people come over here for build a fire, rent a room out at Driftwood Shores, and do some ocean watching and some storm watching, I guess.
All right, Bettina Hannigan, Florence Area Chamber of Commerce. Stay safe, and we all look forward to getting back to the beach soon.
By the way, the casino sent out a note that they're going to be opening in a couple weeks, too, so Three Rivers will be open.
We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Thank you so much.
Great.
Well,
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. Another place popular with tourists is wineries, of course, and Oregon wine sales were up 52% in March. You'll soon be able to enjoy your favorites at the winery. Just like restaurants, there are a number of safety measures in place, and KEZI 9 News reporter Jacob Roberts visited Sweet Cheeks Winery to give us a taste of those changes.
Sweet Cheeks Winery says both the location at the vineyard and here at the tasting room on 5th in downtown Eugene will open next week, but they say the experience might be different than you're used to.
We were bare bones, pretty much just focused on our production.
Sweet Cheeks general manager Jessica Thomas said with no customers to cater to since businesses were forced to close, the winery had to lay off employees, leaving only those necessary to work on production and harvesting. But soon the doors will reopen and all the staff will return, and so will a host of other changes. Seating will be limited to 18 people inside the tasting room at the vineyard, and that includes staff. Employees will wear face coverings. Groups larger than 10 won't be able to sit together.
But it is going to be a lot different. You know, people were used to packing up their picnic and driving out here and having their pick of a table or moving tables together, and we just can't have that happen at the minute.
Thomas said while they are choosing to reopen to the public, not all wineries will. She said it's crucial people respect each business's decision to reopen on their own terms. Sweet Cheeks is also highly encouraging people to call ahead, make a reservation, and make sure there is space if they do decide to come in. In Eugene, I'm Jacob Roberts, KEZI 9 News.
Well, college campuses have a much different feel these days, but it won't be long until students are back in class in person. What's being done to make them feel as safe as possible coming up next.
Celebrating high school seniors.
Welcome back. The look of college campuses across the country are going to look much different this fall, and that does include the schools in the state of Oregon.
The University of Oregon, Oregon State University, the University of Portland, and George Fox are all going to have students back on campus in the fall. At Oregon State, they're going to start summer classes online and then move to online learning by August. Of course, they will have a lot of safety measures in place as well. We're going to talk to Steve Clark here, the Vice President of Student Affairs, in just a moment, and we'll be right back with that.
You're watching KEZI 9 News at 6, live, local.
Welcome back. As we move into phase 1, Lane County leaders are reminding us to not let our guard down. The chair of the Board of Commissioners says things will not be the same as before the pandemic. Heather Buck says the county is looking to keep some workers and creating spaces and facilities so people can be 6 feet apart. And she says they're working to provide safe spaces for the homeless population through the summer. She wants everyone to remember the virus is still out there.
If we see cases go back up, we'll get concerned that maybe we let restrictions go too far. We really don't want to exit phase 1. We really want to move on to phase 2. So I just ask everybody to do their part. And I think for the most people, they really want to do their part.
Buck says county facilities will still follow strict health guidelines throughout phase 1. She says to expect social distancing and people wearing masks in places like the county building and at the Lane County Courthouse.
Well, neighbors seem to have mixed feelings about kicking off phase 1 today. Some say they couldn't wait any longer for this day. They're excited to hit the gym, get a haircut, and sit down for a bite to eat in a restaurant. One man believes that businesses who are reopening will take the right steps to keep their customers safe.
Everyone will be cautious. It's and justifiably so. It can have dramatic effects. But I think given the numbers, no hospital cases currently, yeah, I think it's a good move.
Some churches will be back open for Sunday services, but one pastor says they're not quite ready. What needs to happen first and changes that could reach years into the future?
And Three Rivers casinos have a plan to reopen, but they won't look the way you remember them. How they're adapting to the impacts of the pandemic coming up in our special coverage after the outbreak.